think of myself as an engineer, learner, speaker, teacher, writer. My hobbies are I'm a blogger, so this QR code will take me to my blog post. Adjective I would like to associate myself would be insightful.
We will be sharing all the slides and the video also on this.
So this QR code will take to the slide deck. If any of you want to follow this on different page, feel free to use this QR code. Folks, I have about 2+ decades of experience in the software industry. One thing it occurred to me is we work hard as a community and we don't work smart enough. So over the years, I realized the need to learn formal ways of doing software development and spreading. So the code theory without practice is empty, and practice without theory is blind strongly resonates with me. Yeah. Couple of links to my social media presence. Disclaimer, I work as an architect at Salesforce. The views I'm expressing here are my own, they don't necessarily represent my employers. I use pictures, metaphors, analogies, so I googled some pics from Google. This tweet I ran into something which strongly resonates with me. You either die a product or live long enough to see yourself become a platform. Most successful internet companies out there, the LinkedIns, the Ubers, the Twitters, Amazons, are all platforms. There is a need for building platforms, but it is not well understood. I have built platforms over the years. It occurred to me that I could crystallize the theory and share with the community of like-minded folks, hence this talk. At any point of time, people to stop and ask me questions and happy to answer. We deal with many constructs as software engineers. Things like objects, classes, methods, packages, functions. These have software representation, and hence they have unambiguous and precise meanings. While constructs like components, modules, subsystems, and platforms do not necessarily map one-on-one with software, and hence they are prone to misinterpretation, ambiguity, and abuse. In this talk, I'm focusing on platforms. Hello. Folks, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use metaphors quite a few of in this talk. Now, say I ask the carpenter to build a table like this. Now, to build this table, the carpenter would use files, hammer, screwdriver, hacksaw. The intent is to build a table, but he or she ends up using these. The dictionary definition of a tool is that it is a means to an end. The table is what the carpenter wants to build, and he ends up using a bunch of these. So the first characteristic of a platform is it is a tool. Now this detachable screwdriver can work with different sets of different heads. Now consider a TV or a bulb being screwed in here. Behind the scenes, there is a big ecosystem of power plants, transformers, stations, transformers, it goes all the way, and you can plug in into your socket and get electricity. The takeaway here is what you see, there's a lot happening behind the scenes compared to what you can know. Think of if all the white squares are the functionality that is provided by the platform, and there's a small piece which is missing, which together the platform completes. Another picture I do it. A drum set provides a bunch of complementary sounds. no single one of them is sufficient. It is the group of these drums and the musical instruments which together is used to perform musical act. So this slide is what I think are essential traits to define a platform. A platform is a means to an end. It does most and not all of what you want, similar to the philosophy. It is built for multiple clients. It has no or low incremental cost to support new clients. And like a drum set, it provides a bunch of complementary capabilities which together allow you to realize a use case. While the word platform might seem esoteric and fancy, we as humans are aware of platforms. A good example is the kitchen. There are capabilities to cut, clean, store your food. There are instruments for dishwashing, for cooking and baking, and so on. Nobody builds a kitchen because the kitchen is where they want to live. Kitchen is a means to something else, cooking food. You don't redesign your kitchen each time you prepare a new dish. So, kitchen is a great example of what a platform is. Airport, railway station, bus stand are all examples of platforms. Another example is auditorium. Auditorium provides a favorite place for people to perform. They may have flashlights to focus onto the performers. They have good acoustics. The sitting area is elevated so that everybody can consume. Each time a new play is performed, they don't have to redesign the auditorium. So these are some examples of real-world platforms. And in the rest of the talk, I'll be talking about software platforms. I try to keep my talks interactive. So I have enough foodies here. I assume most of you go to restaurants. Why do you tip and whom do you tip?
Happy with the service based on food.
Whom do you tip? Why do you tip?
We are happy with
Happy with service. So, in this parlance, the word service maps to act. And the act provider, service provider is a waiter for the service. So, for some reason in software development, the word service refers to the service provider, and we use terms like API to refer to services. Now, I am using notation of model for this topic. It is called the client server service model. A simple class diagram is given. Now, a software element, a class, an object, a package, and so on, are provider of services. At the same time, it can be consumer of services. A key takeaway is I want to distinguish between the service and the service provider or server. So at a high level, you can categorize platforms into three archetypes: a product platform, a service platform, and a media platform. I'll explain it in detail. How many of you use Google Suite? Everyone. Now, do you see similarities between the user experience in, say, docs and presentations? There'll be a file menu, there'll be open menu, save menu, share menu.
But the case what I said.
Yeah, all the same. Now, there's a lot of common functionality between all of these four different apps. But there is enough difference. How do you render a document? What happens when you print the document? Those things are different. I don't know, but I hope, because Google employees are here, I hope that Google has built this as a platform and not a bunch of disparate services. Another example of this pattern are IDEs. Your IntelliJs, your Eclipses, all based on projects. You can keep adding new functionality and you don't have to rewrite the platform which a bunch of plugin-based systems are what you are going to I want to focus your attention to a key design pattern, the of template method. How many of you are familiar? In entire method, there is a base interface for abstract class, which defines some virtual abstract method called step A and step B. And you have implementations of the three steps, which are operated from the client's box. Now going back to the CSS model, the first archetype maps to what I call platform as a client. The Google Doc platform will be consuming services from say the document doc type, the spreadsheet doc type, the slide document. So platform acts as a client, and that's how we are able to build a class of products in easy manner. This is a slide about operating systems. They provide capabilities like file management, pulse management, storage management, security management, device management. Now, operating systems provides a set of plethora of complementary services. Platforms like Hadoop and Spark do this, and data platforms provide bunch of similar capabilities. Platform as a server is the second archetype I wanted to bring your attention. This is the most practiced, as per me, the most practiced archetype in our industry. The third platform is the media platform. Here, the value creation happens outside the platform, and the platform provides services of discovery and matchmaking between the producers and consumers. So the value creation happens outside. The platform's capabilities are in regulating and managing the activity and facilitating the interactions between the producers and consumers. The commercial application of this style is quite prevalent. Uber is a platform that connects riders and drivers. LinkedIn is a platform which connects candidates and employers. Android is a platform that connects users and developers. You can go on. MapReduce is, in the MapReduce world, producers are jobs and consumers are task drivers. This style has been employed at the edge of the business or the user-facing aspects of business. But there is no reason why the same style cannot be employed while building internal products. Yeah, that brings me to the third archetype, platform as medium.
Platform can be a multiple producer as well. So that the Uber has one producer like driver.
Yeah.
It can be multiple producers.
Yes. I'll come to that. You can think of it having multiple clients and multiple servers, but the service is defined by the client. Folks, comments, questions, concerns? And the fourth is, you can always have a combination of 1, 2, and 3. Why build platforms? A metric I used some time back was Uber serviced 1 billion rides per year. Unless they took the platform approach, they wouldn't have a few million drivers and a few million riders, and it is how they're able to scale. Now, if Google has a new document type, and had they built a document platform, it allows them to provide all the capabilities of we discussed earlier, and that provides Google agility, cost. If Google would do it from the ground up, it would be significantly powerful. Now, servers can be agnostic of clients, or they can be specific to a client. Suppose a code like this: if client ID equals ID1, do something, else if client ID is ID2, do something. What is wrong with this approach? No, stateful is not an answer. But even ignoring statefulness, then what's wrong with this piece of code?
One client is active, right? So in that case,
Give a new client, you have to make the change.
Yes, the server is never closed. So it violates the principle of low cost option support plans. Of the two implementations of the sort method, the first one takes array of integers and sorts them. It can sort it in ascending order or descending order, but not both. The second approach takes another flag, which which conveys the client's intent to sort it in ascending order or descending order. Between these two, which of them gets about more copies? Obviously. So this property is called parametricity. The server is not making assumptions on the client, but is providing a mechanism to convey what the client wants to the server. So parametricity, the ability of the server to abstract client details, is a significant property, key property to support multiple clients. Now, if you go to a restaurant and you say, hey, I want low oil on my food, I want my food to be spicy, I want my food to be extra crispy and so on. These are request level parameters. Now, if you log into customer support of Amazon, based upon your prior history with them, they provide you different qualities of the service. Is the customer a gold customer? Is he a frequent flyer and so on? These are client level parameters. So for a long time in my career, I insisted on having fewer methods, fewer parameters for my methods. But it was an aha moment for me to realize the way to support more clients in my code is to take parameters. Now, continuing on this sorting, assume that I have a coordinate method which has an x coordinate and y coordinate. Now, if I want to sort this coordinates, there are four options for me. I can sort the x coordinate in ascending order, then I can sort or by descending order, the y coordinate ascending or descending. I also have more information like will I sort the x first or y first. Something as simple as sorting, you realize you can have the parameters. How many of you are familiar with reflective programming in Java? What do you do?
So basically you use the variable names and print logic around it.
Variable types. You get a class, the method name and so on. So Java as a programming language allows reflection at runtime. You can identify properties at runtime and then react accordingly. Similarly, say in my sort method, I can introspect the parameter my client has sent me and accordingly sort. So reflective programming, application level reflective programming is a way of supporting multiple clients. So folks, this is a system I built while I was at LinkedIn. We had a bunch of ad types, and each ad type had different orchestration mechanisms. Check this, if that is true, then check something else, if it's not true, then do something else. For every ad format, these orchestration logic was different. We did not have the liberty to rewrite, developer would not have to participate in rewriting the orchestration logic. So what we did was, we defined the grammar in XSDs, and we could write XMLs conforming to the grammar. This was interpreted at runtime. It is another manifestation of the reflective programming style I spoke about. Your clients provide you a parameter which is known, which conforms to a particular grammar. You interpret that at runtime, and this allowed us to support workflows of different logics at runtime. So, other pattern I'm going to talk about is workflows, domain-specific languages. These mechanisms allow your clients to encode some non-trivial logic conveyed to you over your servers, and that can interpret and display the behavior at random. Okay, now let's come to the last pattern of the mediator. This is called a valet key. So some rich folks have valet, rich family, offer cars. They want to hand over a valet key to the valet. The valet key allows only a limited functionality. Start, stop, maybe turn on the lights, but it can't allow them to open the glove box and some such thing. While the other key is what the car owner will have access to, and they can do the full things. Now, Uber has access to your credit card information. Will hand over the credit card information to the driver. So, in the mediator platforms, the platform might have a richer view of both the producer and consumer. Now, your Uber driver needs to know where he should drop you. So he has access to some information of you, but not the credit card information. This kind of reduced visibility into the various stakeholders is accomplished via the valet key design panel. So far I've spoken to you about what, why, and how of the platforms. Now, the last slide here talks about why. Platforms are a powerful concept that I explained in this talk. For some reason, it is assumed to be somebody else's problem to write and define platforms. I have built platforms at a very micro level, I have built platforms at a macro level. Trying to impress upon you that platformization is something which we as programmers can do on a daily basis and build systems from ground. You can do continuous platformizations, and that's how you build powerful software, and so you're going to make the architecture. Now, what do you anybody can answer?
Quick question. When you say platform as a client, you can explain a little bit of that. Because platform as a server, I understand. Platform as a mediator, I understand. Platform as a client.
I gave an example of a Google suite. If you go to Google Docs today, there's an option to open create a new document or open existing document. It allows you to print a document. Now, the platform will be built before the corresponding document. So the platform will actually make a call to the document that corresponding to, say, spreadsheets to render the content.
I think here also the concept of platform as a server is there, because there is already a platform to open a document.
The word service and server are very contextual. The platform will call a class corresponding to the document type of, say, spreadsheets or spreadsheets. So platform is calling is the client in this context, while the document type is the server. So print, render are methods which say the spreadsheet document type will have. And the protocol client in this case would be the document platform. Hence the term platform as a client.
How do we map? Most of the companies are platform for it's not a frontline group for providing a platform for all the apps and everything. Very specific to the domain that we are in. And then there are these respective products specific or app specific. But what happens a lot of the times is it adds complexity in terms of
centralized dependency on the platforms team, so to say. And then the whole construct of agility goes away. Because now you make a change in the platform and you have to ensure that nothing is broken. Nothing across the app system with a common set of functions. So how do you map the whole platform construct to the software development today's age where time to market or go to market, that's the most important thing compared to, let's say, building the most robust software.
So the how part of the talk was focused primarily on things like the segregation, the encapsulation of service and distinction between the server. I spoke about things like parametricity, I spoke about reflective program, I spoke about grammars and interpreters. Many of these concepts have not been understood by the mainstream industry. So I cannot give you very contextual help saying what will happen in, say, in your employer or this thing. But these design patterns, these patterns of thinking have to be better understood and mastered so that you will not have the problems you spoke. Once you have loose coupling, once you have grammars which can represent various scenarios, when people have the handle of interpretation capabilities, then I don't think the problem will be there or will be as much. So it's a work in progress, hopefully we'll get there sometime.
Yeah.
While building a platform, sometimes it takes very large amount of time, and the business landscape is changing very fast. So, does the platform mean that generally it takes a longer time, or even a small piece can be called a platform? Or
No, we architects and managers can sell anything as platform. It's a different conversation. But I have developed platforms typically over 6 to 9 months. And many of these have been brownfield efforts. There was an application running. People wanted to add new features. And I started extracting out interfaces, extracting out services, having interfaces. Over time, platforms emerge. Platform development is not as costly as people think it is. It is more the developer limitations and not the science limitations that are stopping us. Did I answer your question?
how does platform differ from reusable services? I mean, can I say like reusable services are platforms?
A bunch of complementary services together, they conform to what I call the service platform. Like I mentioned in my talk, service platform is the most prevalent archetype in what I've seen platforms are developed in the industry. A single service rarely is a platform. I gave example of a kitchen. There's abilities to bake, to cut, to cook, to wash. So typically an ecosystem of services make up a service platform.
How do you provide tiered functionalities in the platform? You have a pro version, you have a light version, you have.
So that is where the concept of interpreter comes to the picture. I spoke about parametricity, and over here I spoke about abstracting the request as well as class. If you can encapsulate either the request or the client as, say, what is the type of the customer? Gold customer, bronze customer, silver customer. What's the quality of service that we need to provide? If you are able to parameterize this as an object and interpret at your runtime, you can provide the tiers you spoke about.
It's not always a straight domain, because in some cases, like when you are tier, you provide authentication and others, while others you don't. So there is a split in the platform.
Yes, I mean, that is the reason why we still have jobs. There is some creativity involved and we have to write. Yeah.
Platform. So that is a kind of multiple layer. For example, let's say talk about Uber, right? So like there are riders and there are like drivers, right? So it provides a platform, medical platform.
Uber is a platform.
Uber is a platform. So behind the scene, like payment gateway, like payment is a platform, and payment is, let's say, deployed on some.
Payment can be a platform. It may not be a platform. Yeah, go ahead.
Payment can be a platform. So, and behind the scene, let's say they deployed into cloud, let's say Google or like
Yes.
Azure.
Yes.
So there are multiple layers of
Oh,
platform.
yes. Now, one of the things I want to emphasize on this is people confuse infrastructure to be platform. You can be infrastructure and not be a platform. You can be a platform and not be infrastructure and vice versa. Yes, you're right. You can have platforms at many levels. Application, infrastructure, computing, blah, blah, blah. So what would be the difference between platform as a service and normal platform?
Platform as a service and
Platform as a service and normal platform. So
the
PaaS,
word,
PaaS, right?
the word service is overloaded. What I use in this presentation is different from that service I wanted to be familiar. The PaaS is basically a hosted platform.
So platform is basically able to serve multiple customer and multiple things is what I understand, right?
Ability to support with minimal or no changes.
Correct.
When a new customer, a new rider comes to Uber, they don't rewrite their platform.
Correct.
So when you have to cook a new dish, you don't remodel your kitchen.
Correct.
So to support a new class of clients, a new category of clients, how do you support it is the platform.
Easy.
So sorry, he has been
Yeah, so mine is a follow-up to the question about Uber payment system being a platform. I was thinking, so is a payment system like a component, or all of these not components, and it becomes a platform only when it's more of generic thing? So basically, like say the payment system is generic, that is you have multiple, you can use it in multiple places maybe, or something. Only then will it become platform, otherwise it's just a component. Can I add here simply?
one.
You have heard Razor Pay, right?
Yeah.
Razor Pay is a platform, they are serving money. So the question, so it is a follow-up to the question that he had about Uber. Correct, that's what I'm saying. If Uber as a payment service or whatever, that would be just a component to the larger.
So these are the 5 criteria I established for something to be a platform. A screwdriver is not a platform. A kitchen is a platform. So
Built for multiple clients, I think what I'm trying to get.
yes, and the fact that it has no incremental costs for a new client. You will start realizing when you start comparing this approach, you cannot have implicit assumptions about your clients. And clients tend to become data. There will be an object or data-based representation of your client.
Platform supports functionality, but like they also want the data. Let's say platform has some data stored.
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to those details. You can have stateful platforms, you can have synchronous platforms. There's a whole different conversation.
But anything with respect to what value the platform is providing. Any value, the end of the day, the platform is providing the value.
It can provide multiple.
Will that be a single value platform or could be multiple? For example, Uber came up with riding, but again it started delivering.
They also starting with
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there is no single reason to build a platform. You can build for scale, you can build for agility, you can build for standard compliance, you can build for cost. There is no single reason to build a platform. You can pick a subset of these and build a platform.
In creating a component, there's a payment system there. We will create that system in our platform. That will become a component for overall platform for the using payment systems and our platform.
Sorry, maybe a question.
I mean to let's suppose there's a platform, Uber, they have integrated a payment system, later one. They might be, Uber has integrated like a component of
Yes.
Razor Pay. So to call as a platform, we include our platform plus the Razor Pay.
Great question. So that is where the 3 archetypes come into picture. In the context of rights, Uber is a platform. In the context of payment consumers, Uber is not a platform. In the context of payments, Razor Pay is a platform. If they are using a Spark cluster internally, in that context they are not a platform. Or he spoke about how Uber is a platform using a platform in the So platform is defined in the context of the services who's consuming and who's providing.
So where is the product fits into the platform, or is it platform is the product? Let's say if you say
Platform is an incomplete product. So the document platform I spoke about in Google does not have any kind of a document rendering, printing, share, and all those. So a kitchen is not something you consume directly. You have to cook something in the kitchen for it to be consumed. So the product platform I spoke about provides you a significant fraction of what a product does, but it is incomplete. So you use a platform to provide Google Docs capability. You use it to provide Google spreadsheet capability. Spreadsheet presentation are products built on a document. So, like I said, platform is a means to an end. The end in that scenario is a product.
respect to parametricity, is it better to pass every attribute as a parameter or keep it in the object itself as a variable or as a flag? And
there has to be dimensions where parametricity is required. Is the customer a gold customer or not is important in one context. Is a person staying in Bangalore or Hyderabad, that might not be important in that context. It's a very contextual. But the choice of parametricity is the key to platform.
And one more thing, in the agnostic example, you said ID equal to 1.
Yes.
Is it a wrong way to?
It's clearly a wrong way. You can parameterize your client, but you don't go by the identity. It's like saying, I will get into Uber if and only if driver Ramu drives me. You may say that I want drivers with 4-star rating. I want drivers who are in the vicinity. But you should not get into identity and say this is how I want to be serviced.
One of the definition of platform understood is like it should be like cross-cutting concern. Like for example, the identity, right? Let's say authentication. Let's say one company is like has a 5 different products, right? And the customers, the same customer can actually use multiple products.
Yeah.
So the authentication and authorization is cross-cutting concern. So that is a better way of putting as a platform. Right? So I understood that way. So whenever it's a cross-cutting concern across the services.
No, cross-cutting is a different than the unrelated.
Okay.
Like he mentioned, ability to service different clients in a no/low cost manner, provide a plethora of complementary services is what defines a platform. So providing authentication and authorization together might make it a platform.
When you decide examples of small scale platforms or we offer this remote. Small, you said day-to-day life was a platform.
So I built a document management platform for Adobe. Lifecycle management, cleaning up of documents, what other capabilities and product. I built a stream processing engine at Yahoo. You could declare, say, this is component A, component B, component C. When this is done, take the output of this, take it to that one, and so on. You could define a bunch of pipelines and define dependencies between those pipelines. So platform was built way before the first pipeline was on board. So I mean the scope of platforms is huge.
Thank you, Naveen, for giving us your time.